What up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with Jon Marks. We are live on a Wednesday morning. Good morning to everybody watching out there on YouTube. Like and subscribe, comment, get involved in the conversation. We have the live chat that's going on during the show that Tyler is monitoring and sometimes posting good comments or bad comments. Good morning to everybody on Roku TV. If you're listening on podcast later on or whenever we're watching or listening, happy Wednesday to everybody, as we're a day removed from the Eagles blowing one of the it's not even like one of the worst losses ever. It's just the way that they lost the game. It's so annoying. It was such a gut punch. We'll talk about it. Phillies win last night. We'll get to that coming up when Tyler updates us on everything that's going on here. I wanted to start here. And by the way, the show is always presented by Bet Parks. Get over to the Bet Parks app right now, and you'll see the Eagles are 3-point underdogs to the Saints on Sunday. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just 1 second. But listen, so I was thinking about this yesterday. My daughter plays softball, and I was at softball practice last night. One of the dads said to me, it's kind of like, what do you think of Hurts? And we talked a lot about Jalen Hurts yesterday. I seem to focus on the end of the game and that poor throw, I think, more than the average Eagle fan out there. There's a lot of Sirianni vitriol, a lot of that madness about the play calling or going for it on throwing it on third down or not kicking the field goal or whatever, which, by the way, should be out there as well. But so I thought about it. I'm like, all right, like I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. I am. I'm a Jalen Hurts fan. I think he's a good player. But how good is he? And has he regressed somewhat since 2022? And I think the easy answer on that is yes. Even though if you go through 11 games last year, he was playing at an MVP type clip. And we're only through 2 games this year, and he's been good. But it just seemed like something happened last year in that San Francisco game. And I remember Bosa came out after the game and said, "Oh, well, that's the template right there for beating Jalen Hurts. Is you pressure him up the middle, you don't let him run the ball up the middle in passing situations where he scrambles, and you more or less force him out to the right, and he will stop looking downfield, and he'll be worried, and he'll be paying attention to the rush." And then he started getting blitzed, and that's when it was Dunsky. They couldn't react, they couldn't adjust to that last year. They were much better against the blitz in week 1. Fran Duffy's going to join us coming up at 8:25. He'll let us know how he's doing against the blitz and how he looked in game 2. I don't think Jalen Hurts was bad in week 1 or week 2, but was he great? And that's really what we're looking for out of our quarterback, is when in 2022, he makes just like such a great adjustment. If you remember going into the year 2022, a lot of people had the questions of, can he really be a top quarterback? Not just a dynamic weapon, not a guy that can throw the ball, but also really relies on his legs. Can he develop as a passer? And by the end of the season in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, man, did he develop as a passer. He was really, really good. He outplayed Pat Mahomes. They should have won that Super Bowl. And if it wasn't for a phantom play call or a phantom penalty, Eagles probably win that Super Bowl. But so fast forward to where we are right now, and I look at Jalen Hurts, and I'm like, all right, what kind of a player are we talking about? And I'm not talking about he's trash or he's not good or whatever. He's easily a top 12, top 10 quarterback. But now that we enter this season, and the league has obviously made an adjustment, not only to Jalen, but to what this offense is going to try to do, even with the new offensive coordinator, you wonder if he has regressed as a passer to all the strides that he made in 2022, if they've kind of been washed away. Now, let me just stay with me here for a second. When you look in week 2, when you look against the loss with the Falcons, they had 2 touchdown drives. On those touchdown drives, Jalen Hurts, his biggest attribute was his legs, was rushing. So let's do the first touchdown drive. He had 47 rushing yards. And you'll remember it. It's where he split the defenders. You saw that burst. And it's like, wow, that's the old Jalen Hurts. And a lot of people were excited. It was a great play. They scored a touchdown, but it was like, oh, Jalen's back. He couldn't do that last year. Yes, that's the Jalen we want to see. Second touchdown drive, he had 5 rushes. And that's 5 rushes for 33 yards. And that's not a 20-play drive, right? So you're talking about the quarterback running the ball 5 times. And these aren't designed runs, most of them. Some of them are. But a lot of these are scrambles. And when you go back and think about, especially in the second half, what Jalen was doing, it seemed like every play, rolling right, leaving the pocket, rolling right. The development of Jalen Hurts as a quarterback, as a passer, feels like it's stalled. Because when you watch these games, and again, this is the game against Atlanta, if he's not running for these yards, if he's not a part of the running game, mostly scrambling, I don't think they score touchdowns there. And I'm not going to criticize Jalen Hurts because you're trying to win the game. And if the offense isn't moving on third downs, on fourth downs, when you have a 2nd and 20, there was one play, you had a 2nd and long, and he got a nice big chunk of yards back. I get it. The goal needs to be long-term that Jalen Hurts can throw the ball as a quarterback. Because every time that he needs to do this to move the ball, I don't know if he's missing opportunities down the field. I don't know if he's not seeing the field very well. This was this was on the drive that he had 47 rushing yards. 4th and 3, Jalen Hurts 23 yards. 2nd and 20, Jalen Hurts 9 yards. 3rd and 11, Jalen Hurts 15 yards. So again, big spots. I'm never going to tell my quarterback, hey, you don't want to make a play there, because you're going to make a play there. But I need him to be able to do that with his arm. And here's why. We saw last year, the last half of last year, there was something going on with him being injured. He couldn't do those things. He couldn't outrun defenders. He didn't look healthy. That's why Monday night was like, wow, he looks healthy. He looks like he has a burst again, right? So what's going to happen when he runs the ball a lot? He's going to take a beating. He's going to have wear and tear. He's going to get injured. It's not a matter of if, it's when, because it's happened every year that he's been in the league. So if you're going to rely on Jalen Hurts to run the ball, to move your offense, you're in big trouble. You might win 10 games. You might win an NFC East. You're not winning a Super Bowl unless you get back to throwing the football. The development feels like it's stopped with Jalen Hurts as a passer. And here's the other thing. As he gets a little bit older and he's still young, when he hits upper 20s, is he going to be able to have that burst? He's not going to have that burst. So again, relying on Jalen Hurts, the runner, as a quarterback is dangerous. Because, oh yeah, you can have success short term, but what happens when you play the good teams, the better defensive coordinators, the better playmakers on defense? It's tough to win like that, especially in the playoffs. And I've just seen a little bit of a regression from Jalen as a passer. So we'll talk to Fran coming up here at 8:25. He's looked at the film. Really, with Fran, WTF is going on with the defensive line, pressures, with trying to stop the run. Huff is like he's barely even out there. You can't put him in there on running downs. You can't. I watched some Twitter guy out there did some film study and put the videos up there, and it's like, wow, he is getting manhandled. So we'll talk to Fran coming up at 8:25. Phillies win last night. We'll get the latest from Tyler, but before we do that, Tyler, your thoughts on Jalen Hurts as far as a regression and how he's played so far this season?
So I think that there's merit to say the quarterback that Jalen Hurts was in 2022, he has not reached that pinnacle over the last, probably 7 games. Because he was good in the beginning of the first portion of last year. They were winning a lot of close games. We kind of saw the cracks in the foundation, but he was pretty good. And like you said, he was kind of in an MVP candidacy race, maybe through the first what would you say, first
11
8,
games.
9,
He was the
10 weeks?
11. I think it was 11 weeks. He was the MVP.
So I think
favorite
it's safe to say that the level at which that you want Jalen Hurts to reach, which was 2022 Jalen Hurts, he has not gotten back to since the end of that season. The best game I ever saw Jalen Hurts play was the Super Bowl. It's the best game I ever seen him play. He outdueled Patrick Mahomes, who just happened to have the football last in that moment, right? And that's one of those situations where I tip my cap to a quarterback who lost the game. He was so darn good. He might have been the best player on the field that day.
He was.
I agree. To get back to that pinnacle, he hasn't done that yet. Monday's game specifically, we talked about this a lot yesterday. Jalen Hurts has some blame in this game. There's no doubt about it. However, to me, the overarching issue was your defense forced 0 3-and-outs. Not a single 3-and-out all game. The Falcons punted twice the entirety of the game. For a team that scored 22 points and needed a last-minute touchdown to get to the 22-point threshold, you would think both of those numbers would be much higher.
Right.
Because if you said to me, point blank, Falcons scored 22 points against the Eagles, I would tell you the Eagles win that game 9 out of 10 times. Right? They're scoring 27, 28, 30, something like that. This offense is meant to score like that. So Jalen Hurts is not blameless in this game or in the decision-making that he had in game one that, could have, in theory, cost them game one as well. He's not blameless. But to me, he's number, maybe 4 or 5 in the blame game this week because the defense is number 1. Your defensive coordinator is up there. Decision-making by the head coach at times was up there. There's a lot of steps for me to get to Jalen Hurts in a blame game this week.
Fair enough. I don't disagree. Saquon also, if he catches that ball, we're not talking about it. We're probably not talking about this right now. And people are telling us it's fine. Like, relax. Everything's fine. That's what we did last year. Everything's fine. They're winning these close games. Don't worry about it. They're finding out ways to win. But Jalen also, I remember that Bills game last year where he was going back and forth with Josh Allen, and he was not going to lose that game. He was amazing. So we have seen him play amazing last year, but it's so hard. It's so hard to win in the NFL. These defensive coordinators literally spend all offseason and all week trying to figure you out. And sometimes when you're figured out, it's hard to get back to where you were. And maybe the ceiling with him has already been there with the Super Bowl year. All right,
but if the ceiling is the Super Bowl year, that's a darn good quarterback.
Yeah, but can he get back there?
That's a fair question.
Can he? Because I guess what I'm saying is that he's never going to get better than that. Which is, you don't need him to get better than that.
I'm not sure there is much better.
Right,
than that.
He would have been the Super Bowl MVP. But can he get back to that level? And we saw it at times, but the reliance on the run, I hate. And it's necessary. I get it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on 4th down. You shouldn't be doing it. But I need to see more out of Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, throwing the football. All right, Fran's coming up in about 10 minutes. He'll give us the latest on what he saw when he looked at the film. But the Phils win last night. That magic number's dwindling down, Tyler Zulli.
It's down to 4. And in fact, it's 1 if you want to think about the postseason. Now, granted, the postseason is kind of a foregone conclusion at this point. But They do have an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot officially tonight with a win or a Braves loss, I believe. But a win would be the easiest way to go about it. But yes, last night the Phillies do win. They beat the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 2 of this 3-game series 5-1. More important than just the win and keeping up in the standings, the Phillies have officially won the season series against Milwaukee. They are now 4-1 against the Brewers in the 5 games they've played. So now, barring something crazy happening where Milwaukee now has to win an extra game over the Phillies to secure a bye or a better seed, the Phillies will have the tiebreaker against the Brewers. They've already held claim to the tiebreaker against the Dodgers. So the two other division the two teams we at this point are expecting to win their divisions. You have the tiebreaker over both.
Yep.
So let's get into it. Zack Wheeler was great last night. 7 strong innings, another Cy Young candidate caliber performance from him. 4 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. They go Wheeler, Strahm, Hoffman. Milwaukee never had a chance.
No, and Wheeler was he was smooth last night. He really was. He was working at a good pace. The velocity was there. When he throws that 4-seam fastball, and it's like I know it's not possible to have a ball rise. It seems like it does, man. He had great movement on everything last night. I mean, really, that's your template for winning a World Series. Your template for winning any series is right there. Zack Wheeler starts your opening game. He gives you 7 innings, and you go to a deep bullpen and a dominant bullpen, and you did it last night. Bryce Harper, which you're going to say in a second, your stars hit. They're productive. Trey Turner had a big hit in the game. So I was pleased. They lose last night. Now I'm like getting a little squirmy because I've been positive, John, with the Phillies. I pledged to not get squirmy and get negative. But that win last night really reassures you, like, all right, we're good. We don't have to worry about anything happening down the stretch here. Good win last night.
So as you bring up their stars, all 4 guys at the top of the lineup, being Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, had at least 1 RBI last night and at least 1 hit. Bryce Harper was the only one who didn't reach base at least twice. Schwarber had 2 hits. Turner had 3. Nick Castellanos had the home run and a walk. He reached base twice.
Yeah.
But Bryce Harper did hit a home run last night, and thanks to our friend Nick Picone for putting this together. A little bit of comedy out of our friend Bob Uecker, who is the radio play-by-play voice for the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, you're going to know the second portion of this clip from something different, not the Milwaukee Brewers, but something that Bob Uecker may almost be a little bit more famous for. So our buddy Nick Picone put this together last night. I thought this was pretty comical.
And the pitch. Harper to left center. Deep warning track. You'll need a rocket up his ass to catch this one. That baby is out of here.
Of course, that comes from one of my favorite baseball movies of all time, Major League. Who, by the way, I think Bob Uecker, I know people know the lines like just a bit outside and ball 4,
right,
ball 8 and all that kind of stuff. Bob Uecker, to me, some of the subtle things he says in that movie are just
dynamite.
as good. And then Monty steps in and he goes, all right, Monty, take over. And he goes, fly ball, caught. And that's the play-by-play. The dynamic between those two is hysterical in that movie.
I think the one point he was talking about one of the players. I think he got arrested. And Monty goes, I think there were traffic tickets. And he goes, dynamite dropping, Monty.
Broadcasting school is really paying off for you.
All right, how old's Bob Uecker?
Off the top of my head, I'd say he's definitely in his 80s. I would have to think he's in his 80s, right?
I would have said early 80s.
Let's find out.
He's 90 years old.
No, he's not. Good for him for still doing it. That's incredible, actually.
It's almost impossible. Like, he's 90 years old doing play-by-play.
When I'm 90 years old, I'm not working a second of my life.
You won't want me working at 70 years old, much less 90 years old.
You can find me on a beach, at a bar, anywhere but at work.
Find me in a nursing home if I'm 90 years old. By the way, Bob Uecker, dynamite Mr. Belvedere, probably before your time. Well, definitely before your time, but I don't see it a lot on cable TV. But Mr. Belvedere, Bob Uecker, great job.
So obviously, as we said, the Phillies are now a game from clinching a foregone conclusive playoff spot. But we did just get an update. An email comes through from the Phillies that say it's now time to spend $7 million on playoff tickets. So the playoff raffle, if you will.
Lottery's open.
The lottery is open to put your name into an opportunity to get some Phillies playoff tickets. First come, first serve, I believe, to season ticket holders.
Yes.
And then, of course, it opens up to the public. John, are you going to be in the raffle, in the lottery to buy your tickets?
I was registered before 6 a.m. this morning.
You and 7 million other people.
And here's another thing. So I think season tickets I saw, is it John Weber? Uh-oh. That's someone ringing the doorbell.
I didn't even know we had a doorbell.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, that's how you would get in if in the building if I guess you couldn't get in. Oh,
are we getting evacuated?
This is the fire drill. So the guy yesterday came up and he's like, I was like, and I'm relatively new here. I said they're going to test it. I'm relatively new here. So this guy, I didn't know who he was. I thought he was like worked here or something. And
Sure.
He's like talking like he knows you. Or like, no, I was talking to Jamie and he's like, or maybe it was you. And he's like, yeah, I got a fire. Got to have a fire test on the fire system or whatever. And somebody asked when. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like,
I don't know is a great answer.
All right, cool, good. That's awesome. That's all for a company that broadcasts live. Yeah, we don't need to know what time.
I always thought about this when you have a company like this. We used to have it at the radio station all the time, and if you work there as well, do you remember how loud that fire alarm was?
Yeah,
it would like permeate the
It would go through. It would go through
doors.
the $40,000 door
Yeah,
that goes into
it
the
was
studio.
that loud. So my question always was, why are we not doing this at 3:00 in the morning? Nobody's here.
Well, because I guess they want to do it when people are in there. No, I've actually been in a situation where they were telling me you have to get off the air, and I'm like, I can't leave the board. This is when I was running the board. I'm like, I can't leave the board. Like, I was working with Mike Missinelli. He's like, he's not leaving. We're staying on the air. And the engineer,
There it is. This is live entertainment, folks.
So if we close this door right here, perhaps it won't be as loud. And I don't know how long it's going to be going on there. Attention. Variant, but it looks like it may be over. I don't even remember what I was talking about before this. Oh, so the Phillies, the Phillies tickets. So season tickets has doubled, I believe, since even last year or the year before. So there's not as many tickets that are going to be available for the lottery. So cross your fingers, but you may not get it. So there you go. All right. By the way, just one other stat that I saw here. Phillies are 29-17 against the NL playoff contenders. So this crap that we were dealing with at the beginning of the season where they don't beat anybody, they beat up on the bad teams. They're 12 games over 500 against the teams that are either in the playoffs or are fighting for their lives to get in the playoffs right now, which I'd say is a pretty good record. 5-game lead for first round bye with 11 to play. And we have any number of magic numbers, 4 to win the East, 1 to get in tonight to clinch. And I heard Scott Fransky say this last night, that if the Phillies, if they win and they get in the playoffs, they will not rush the mound or whatever. They'll have a toast in the clubhouse. They'll save for clinching the NL East for the celebration on the mound.
I like that. That's a team that's kind of standing on business. They knew that they were going to be a playoff team like 6 weeks ago, right? Yep. Well, maybe not 6 weeks ago because they were playing some bad baseball at the time. But you get my point, right? Where you're standing on business. A playoff spot's great. The division's more important. The bye is more important. They have higher aspirations than just playing in the NL wildcard round.
Yeah, winning a division, which they haven't done, is certainly, you should be celebrating. You should be rushing the mound. You should be pouring champagne afterwards. But then realizing that you've been to the World Series 2 years ago. You lost in the NLCS last year. So, all right, well, there you go. We'll get some more Philly stuff here in the second half of the show. And Fran's going to join us coming up in a second. He has evaluated the film. I don't think he comes out of wherever he's watching the film. I don't think he comes out. He has one of those slots, like if you're in solitary confinement in prison, and they just
food through the door.
They just put it through. He's not allowed to leave until he's viewed the film, however many times. He's going to tell us what the hell's going on with the defense and the defensive line and how he evaluates everything else on Monday night. But listen, let's talk about this for a second. Glatt hair restoration. Yes, I'll go to the grocery store and I'll have people come up to me and be like, "Oh yeah, they did a good job. Oh, Glatt hair restoration." And they'll be looking at the hair right here. And here's the thing. I had the procedure done. My barber, who cut my hair for many years, I told him in the chair that I had a hair restoration procedure. And he is looking at my hair like this. And it's like, I would never tell. I can't tell that you told me right now because it's real. It's your natural growing hair. And Glatt hair restoration now with Morgenstern Medical. Part of the Morgenstern Center, Glatt hair restoration under the direction of renowned plastic surgeon Dr. Ken Morgenstern. So same approach to care, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, same state-of-the-art location, same stellar results. And every member of Dr. Glatt's hair team, and I know them very, very well. I've been working with them for over a decade now. They're experts in the industry, over 30 years of experience, and all they do is hair. They're not doing this, and anybody can buy the machine that has the technology to it, but that doesn't mean people know what the hell they're doing. Over 30 years of industry experience, and that's why you trust them. Glatt hair can help during all stages of hair loss. So maybe you're thinking like, well, I don't know if I need hair restoration. There's a lot of things out there right now that can help you with the hair loss. Laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, which I get for maintenance, vitamin supplements, topical oral medications, PRP, and stem cell restoration. You can get a complimentary one-on-one consultation, and they can say like, hey, here's what we think is the best course of treatment. Just give them a call today. It is 610-980-4000. Get your hair back. Bald's optional these days. If you want your hair back, visit glatthairmctr.com or call 888-980-4000. How about that? All right, Bet Parks. Listen, folks, I told you last week, this line for the game on Sunday against New Orleans, Philly was favored in the game. 1.5 or 2-point favorites. It has now, and you expect this with a loss, now all the way to New Orleans -3 in the game. Good time to get in. If you think this is a good bounce back for the Eagles, I wouldn't wait. I would take the 3 points right now because I think it's only going to go down as opposed to going up. I would get it at 3 points right now. It's the one and only sportsbook that I ever recommend is Bet Parks and the Bet Parks Sportsbook and online casino app. They have a great offer right now. Check it out. 50-1 odds boost for your pick to win this year's Pro Football Championship. They'll call it a super odds boost. 50-1. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. So you feel good about a team that's maybe lost a game or even two like Baltimore? Get in right now and get your odds boosted 50-1. And you can double down on fourth down while you watch and wager football. There's a break in the action. Play blackjack, roulette, craps with a live dealer on the Bet Parks app. So download it right now. The Bet Parks Sportsbook and online app. 50-1 super odds boost on your pick to win this year's Pro Football Champion. It's a limited time offer and it's for new customers only. So if you haven't used Bet Parks before, get in right now. You must be 21 and then PA, New Jersey, Michigan, or Maryland. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. Bet Parks. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Fran Duffy, what are the newest additions to PHLY? And are you all right there? You came up for air late last night. I know you were in the film room for many, many hours, Fran. You did your PHLY Eagles with the guys. You did your film evaluation. I watched all of it. And how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it, John. Yeah, it was a long day yesterday. The short weeks don't hit as well as they used to, a decade ago. But we're making do. We're doing all right. So I'm going to do the defensive recap. The article just went up on all PHLY literally like minutes ago, and then I'm working on the offensive one here shortly.
All right, run defense, pass rush, all the things are being talked about. Curious to your thoughts when you went back and you looked at it. What is going on? Let's talk about the run defense first, because this is one of these things where it's like, all right, Jordan Davis, Jaylen Carter. All right, I'm worried about the pass rush. I'm not worried about the run defense with those guys in there. And you look what's happened through the first two games. They're getting eaten up. They're giving up big yards per carry. So when you went back and looked at the film, what are you seeing?
Well, in this game against Atlanta, we'll just go with that one, just the most recent one, because obviously the run defense was not good enough. When you look at Tyler Algier, Bijan Robinson, those guys averaged about 6.5 yards a carry as a duo. And so that is not sustainable over the long haul of the NFL season. And a big part of the reason why Atlanta really leaned into a lot of their zone runs, and specifically their outside zone, where they're trying to get the whole defense running from one side or the other. And when you're doing that, you are putting stress not just on the defensive linemen, but on the linebackers as well. And I think in this game, Zach Bond did not play well against the run, and too often ended up on the ground. And there were a number of shots where Atlanta's right guard, Chris Lindstrom, who's a really, really good player, didn't have a great week in week one against Pittsburgh. It was one of the worst games of his career, but bounced back in a big way. He was able to get Bond on the ground too often in this game. The Eagles have got to get this figured out from a zone running standpoint. By far right now in the NFL, they've given up more yards per carry against these zone run schemes than anybody in the league. It's like by like a yard and a half per carry that they are out in front. And things don't get easier this week against New Orleans, because that's one of the things they do extremely well. And so right now it's a gap discipline thing. There's missed tackles at all three levels. And then, like I said, the ability to defeat those blocks one-on-one, that's been a big problem so far through 2 weeks.
Carter getting double teamed a lot. I've seen Bryce Huff almost look like he shouldn't be put in on potential running downs because he's getting swallowed up and pushed around by the offensive lineman. What about Jordan Davis? Talk about those three players right there. Jordan Davis is supposed to be the anchor of this defensive line to where you can't run on them. So what's going on when you look at the interior and Bryce Huff? What is going on with them with the run?
Yeah, I would say with Jordan Davis, because of the way Atlanta played for the majority of the game on Monday night, that performance I wouldn't necessarily put on Jordan. And I have not been the biggest Jordan Davis supporter over the last couple of years, but in this specific game, I actually think he played a little bit better than what the consensus would be. I think he was a little bit weaker last week against Green Bay. What you're really hoping for Jordan Davis is a lot of those downhill run schemes, those at-you runs where the running back is getting downhill. that's where he's going to really kind of make his hay. He's going to be able to hold the ground, hold on to those double teams. But the moment the offensive line is trying to get you on the run, that's where Jordan Davis, he's not going to be as effective. And so to me, this game was much more about those guys on the backside. And you mentioned Bryce Huff. He was not good against the run in this game. Now, he had one flash play, and it was at the very end. Honestly, that fourth down stop by C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that was the last run play for Bryce Huff in this game, and it was the most impactful. But other than that, I mean, he's getting washed down by Kyle Pitts, who is not going to get confused for George Kittle anytime soon. He's getting blocked too often on the edge. He gave up the edge a number of times early in the second half. And so, to me, if you're just looking at Bryce Huff versus Nolan Smith, last year's first-round pick, like neither one of these guys is giving you anything as a pass rusher, but at least Nolan Smith is impacting the game as a run defender. He's setting a strong edge. He's playing with good effort. He's showing strength there at the point of attack. And so I think you're getting a little bit more now from Nolan. It wouldn't shock me because they're platooning those guys right now. It wouldn't shock me if you started to see it tilt a little bit more in Nolan Smith's favor in terms of a snap share.
All right, I gotta be positive for a second with Bryce Huff. Because I'm trying, because when you watch the first two games, he needs to change his jersey number because he's giving you 0, wearing number 0. When you look at the pass rush win rate, last 2 years, he was number 1, I believe, in 2022, and he was top 5 in 2023. This year, he's tied for 146th. So is this just where we need a larger sample size and for him to kind of get acclimated and acquainted to this defense? Is Vic Fangio putting him in the right position to be successful? I just don't know how you go from one of the best in the league at winning against your guy for 2 straight years and you look like you don't even deserve getting snaps at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Bryce Huff is that it was going to be a little bit of a projection because he had never been an every down player. And last year was really the only year where he had production. He had 10 sacks last year, but before that, he had never had more than 3.5 in a season, if my memory serves. So it was the analogy I would make is that it's, you're signing a guy that just hit 28 home runs as a 7-hole hitter for a 500 baseball team to come in and be your cleanup guy. That's what you're hoping is that, hey, you know what? This is going to project. He's going to slide into this role and he's going to take off. And so far, the early returns have not been great there. He's not playing the run well. Now, the one thing I would like, going back and looking at some of the data last night, you go to Next Gen Stats, and one thing you'd like to be able to see from your pass rushers, especially a guy with Huff's, with his skill set, their get-off speed and their ability to get off the ball. He's got one of the better get-offs in football, certainly the best on the team right now in terms of the GPS tracking. And so that is still carrying over. To me, it's about his ability to just win at the top of the rush, and he has not been able to do that well enough. And to me, you look at that final drive. I think that's kind of a microcosm of what you're seeing right now, is that in that situation, you take away play action, you take away misdirection, you take away the threat of the screen game, right? Because that is a must-have-it pass, pure drop back pass situation there for the Atlanta Falcons. You should be able to pin your ears back as a rusher and go. This is what you're hoping for. This is what you're paid to do. And Bryce Huff wasn't able to sniff Kirk Cousins throughout the course of that drive. And so to me, like they've got to get this figured out. He has got to get this figured out. Maybe getting back into being more of a rotational player will be good for him. Now, the Eagles aren't going to get their bang for their buck if that's the case, but at least you're getting something out of him. Right now, he is just not playing well enough.
Awesome. Vic Fangio, and I want to ask you one question on the offense coming up. But Vic Fangio, like you had said on that drive, in your opinion, based on what you're seeing, are you surprised he's not being a little bit more creative, or he at times, I know that he did, I think they got beat on a blitz actually for a touchdown, but are you surprised that I just felt helpless watching that final drive, and it was like, well, like, do something. How do you evaluate Fangio and what he's done so far as coordinator?
Yeah, I was not shocked that they didn't blitz more in this game. We talked about it last week on the PHLY Eagles show, is that my anticipation was that they were going to blitz less against the Falcons just because of Kirk Cousins' propensity to get the ball out fast. And so I didn't think this was going to be a big blitzing game, and they blitzed less here this week than they did in week 1 against Green Bay. One of the things I was most interested to see going back and watching the film, John, was, all right, what happened on that final drive from a schematic standpoint? Did they try and mix things up? Was it a straight prevent defense? We weren't getting like great angles on the broadcast for that. So just what were they trying to do? I'll tell you what, like they went and they were mixing things up. They changed coverages. Sometimes they blitzed. Sometimes they ran stunts. They changed up their fronts. They were doing all different kinds of things. Nothing worked. You had the blown coverage from the rookie corner, Quinyon Mitchell. That's going to happen when you play rookies in the secondary. So that was unfortunate that happened in that prime spot. Then Mitchell got beat on the very next play on a great route from Darnell Mooney. So you give up those 2 explosive plays, all while the pass rush is not getting home. I thought on third down throughout the course of the game, one of the things that their goal was to take away Drake London. There was a lot of designated double teams, some creative coverage calls from Vic Fangio and from that secondary coaching staff where, hey, you know what, we're going to try and get 2 sets of eyeballs on Drake London on third down and in the red zone. Not going to let him beat us. Well, all throughout the game, they did a really good job of that, of taking that away, forcing Cousins to get to his second read. Final play of the game, credit Atlanta. They did a good job of having Drake London in the slot, and then very late they moved him outside. They forced a one-on-one with Slay, and then London ran a great route. Slay said it after the game, like, yeah, that's on me. He ran a great route. Hadn't run that at all in the game to that point. He goes to the pylon, Cousins puts it on him, and it's a touchdown. And so to me, it was just a combination of a lot of things in that final drive. But at the end of the day, the rush, that was the most disappointing thing, because in that situation, that's what you're paid to do, right? And you think of these good Eagles defenses over the years, when you get into that situation, that's where those guys are able to take over. Fletcher Cox comes up with a big sack. Hassan Reddick comes up with a big sack. Chris Long comes up with a big sack, right? Those guys, they are starving for those situations, and no one was able to step up in that situation.
All right. I know you said you'll have something up today on the offense. Just curious, through 2 games. So to me, I was seeing too much Jalen Hurts rolling to the right again. And there are 2 touchdown drives. If you look at the play-by-play, now, you look at the film, but he's scrambling a lot. He's running for a lot of yards. In that first touchdown drive, really the 2 big chunk plays that he made were when he ran. He split the defenders on the one. Great plays. I just wonder, when you go back and watch the film, is he seeing the field well right now? Is he missing open receivers? Is he leaving the pocket too early when he's sensing pressure? How would you evaluate Jalen Hurts from that standpoint in the first 2 games of the season?
I would say, I would agree there are a lot of scrambles in there. And so there's a little bit of everything. I would say overall that it's been mostly positive when he has broken the pocket. He has done it for good reason, and he has had good results as a result of that. I think the one that stands out to mind where it was like, oh, like this is one where he left a little bit early, or maybe he should have thrown it here. There was the one where he rolled to his right and he hit Devontae Smith. Devontae had that one really acrobatic catch where he toe tapped along the sideline against Atlanta. That was one where he turned down a throw. I want to say it was to Jahan Dotson in the slot. It was against pressure, so the blitz was coming, and Dotson was the hot route there. That said, over the course of this game and going back to Green Bay last week, that was something that Jalen has done a really good job of this year, is understanding, hey, when I'm blitzed, when I'm hot, this is where the outlet is. A number of Britton Covey's targets in this game were plays like that. Dallas Goedert had a play that was just like that. And so he just didn't throw it to Dotson there, rolled to his right to where Devontae was, and was able to hit him for the first down. That's one of those, like, not great process, great results type of plays. But right. I think overall he has done a really good job of understanding where he needs to go with the football. And if it's not there, that's when he kind of gets into creation mode. Sometimes the defense fools him. To me, the pre-snap stuff with Jalen has been really, really impressive. And that has set him up for success more often than not once the ball snapped.
Fran Duffy, PHLY Eagles analyst. You can follow him on Twitter. It's F Duffy NFL. Last thing, was it a mistake to throw the ball on third down? Should they have just ran it, tried to get a first down, wound the clock, and taken your chances like that?
We were watching it right in the studio there. It was myself, Bo Wolf, Jamie Lynch, Vinny Curry. And in the moment, I said that you got to run the ball here. I think just because of where you had it from a field position standpoint, that's 4 down territory there, because you don't want to kick the field goal and go up 6 and still have them give them the ability to win that game. Worst case scenario, you get stopped short on third down. If you want to throw it on fourth down, you want to run that same exact play that you called on third down, you can call that on fourth down. But to me, the Atlanta was out of timeouts. Suck another 30, 40 seconds off the clock. Yes, I know that those can be easy decisions to make from the comfort of the studio as opposed to on the sideline. But to me, I like that more for a running play in that situation. I would have run it twice there to just try and end the game in that way, especially with the way Saquon Barkley was running the ball on Monday night.
Fran, great stuff, man. Always appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, John. Talk to you, man. All
right, there he is, Fran Duffy. It's so nice to have an in-house film guy. Just say, hey, Fran, we know you're going to look at the video. We know you're watching the game. Let us know what you see. So ultimately, like with Jalen Hurts, positive information that he gave us. The defensive line, this is telling you this is a problem because they don't have the bodies. They just don't. Jaylen Carter's getting double teamed, and if everybody just runs away from Jordan Davis and you're attacking the ends, or like Fran was saying, you're in trouble. All right, we'll get to more coming up in a second. I do have a thought on Jaylen Carter and him not starting the first and the second half because of discipline, which is not a good thing. All right, so let's talk about TrueMark for a second. Let's talk about TrueMark for a second, because if you're like me, right, I am always on my mobile app, on my mobile banking app. Got to be, right? That's how you do it. Depositing checks, checking account balances, anytime, right? Middle of the night, oh man, view your transactions, make transfers, pay bills, all from the convenience of your mobile phone. That's TrueMark. That's TrueMark. And if you have a mobile wallet, maybe you can pay the fire company or the whoever's doing the alarms to turn this off. But we're going to do this the whole show. This is unbelievable. But at least it only lasts for a second. But TrueMark is amazing. They really are. Add your cards to the mobile wallet for easy in-store or online payments. And if you're in the market for a home, right, maybe you're coming back, you're saying, you know what, let's try to get back in it again. TrueMark's financial mortgage specialist can offer guidance on loan options and terms. They'll help assess your finances and credit score to determine your borrowing capacity. So save for a down payment and budget for closing costs. TrueMark can help you with everything. That's why you check them out. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA as an equal opportunity lender. For more info, visit TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. TrueMark.com/PHYITY. What's the second one that I have? I have here. I have it here. Is it a new one? Do we have a new sponsor on the program?
Yeah. Well, not new to the company, but
to
new
the
to
show.
Us. Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. I guess I have to refresh my feed here to get it. Oh, all right. Here we go. FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. Officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. So if you're going to a basketball or a hockey game, show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets. Oh, man. Who doesn't want a team-friendly friendship bracelet? Hoodies, jackets, beachwear, overalls. All right, so Tyler, are you in the PHLY Phillies? Do you put on the overalls for playoffs? Or?
I did not, but Jamie did.
I could totally see
Jamie
that.
had them. Renee had them.
Does he pull it off, Jamie?
So what he does with them is he gets them and then he stuffs all his adult beverages
in them.
He's got like 7 beers in the pockets.
Yeah, I could totally see that. FOCO has hooked up PHLY and provided awesome pieces for our sets. So he has it. Does he have it? Is that a FOCO?
Oh yeah, we'll find pictures of it somewhere.
All right, very cool. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Check this out. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off. Who the hell doesn't want 10% off? PHLY10 for 10% off. That's it. FOCO. I gotta get some gear for sure. Like, look at me. I'm wearing. So what I do, Tyler, is I start like I have one more beard trim left, and then I'll go into playoff beard mode.
Okay.
So I'm going to get my hair cut. I'm going to go to Razor Bar probably early next week, get the freshie, and then just trim it down a little bit, get it lined up, and then the beard will not be trimmed until after.
Wait, do you have a different person for your beard than your hair? Like, do you have a barber and then a beard person?
So I would like to have that. They will trim it up. They will like set the edge.
Yeah.
But then I will trim it. But in a perfect world, I would have a hair person and a beard person as well. Because normally the guys that do the beards really well don't necessarily cut hair very well.
Okay.
That was the problem that I had. I went to a Dominican barbershop some years ago, and they did an amazing job with the beard. But you would give these guys shears or scissors, and it's like, oh, your hair's crooked. Like, yeah, I know, I can see that. It's great. So if you're fading or whatever, but I need at least, I need some scissor work up top.
So in a perfect world, you'd have a guy for both.
Correct.
Okay.
But at Razor Bar, they take care of both of them for me, and the beard looks great. But yes, so the playoff beard will be growing. I'm going to do one more trim. Do you do a playoff beard as well? Because you trimmed yourself up. You got a fresh haircut.
I did. So I did get a fresh haircut last weekend. You can't tell because I rolled out of bed and ran over here.
But I know why you got it, because you had the baby shower.
Correct.
Over the weekend.
Right. So my wife said to me, hey, you thinking about getting a haircut? And when she said you're thinking about getting a haircut, what she really said was, go get your haircut. We have the baby shower this weekend, right?
It's code.
Yeah, usually how it works. The unfortunate part was I found out that week my typical barber is on vacation. Now I don't know about you, but when I found my barber probably like 3-4 years ago now, he's my guy.
Yeah, sure.
To the point where he used to be in Newtown. He got his own company up in North Jersey. I will drive an hour to go see him because I trust him.
You drove an hour to get your haircut?
Not this week. That's the problem. He was on vacation. So I just went to somebody and I'm like, please just don't screw it up. Like, I listen, my hair, like, I don't have that much left. It's not, it's not that difficult.
Right.
It was really just like, don't make it look awful.
Yeah, yes. Don't make people look at you and be like, that's a bad haircut. They did okay.
Did a fine job. I'm okay with it. But it was weird. It's a weird dynamic. Like, you have your barber, you shoot the breeze with your barber, you catch up on their life, they catch up on your life.
Yeah, and then you become your friend.
Then you go to somebody new, and it was like, I'm sitting there like twiddling my thumbs. I'm like, do I talk to this guy? Does he want to talk to me?
My buddy that his family owns, Guy to Door and Window, Ronnie Lamonaco. I was at his wedding, and sitting at my table was his barber.
Okay.
He goes to the barber. He's like an every week barbershop guy. So yeah,
I couldn't.
His wedding. There you go.
Oh, you have to go.
Got to do it. All right. What did I want to? Oh, so real quick on this, and I thought about, is this the lead for the show, or did I want to talk about Jalen Hurts? It came out Jaylen Carter, according to Jeff McClain, benched for being late for some type of a team function. They didn't get in it past that. Really, this is kind of what you worry about when you draft him. There's a reason why he slid all the way to number 9. And forget about the production on the field hasn't been the same as the first 6 weeks or so of his rookie year. But this isn't even just the fatal car accident that he was involved in. If you remember, Tim McManus had this before the season started, but he slid in the draft. A lot of people thought it was because of the whole car thing. Well, according to Tim McManus back then, multiple Georgia coaches declined to go to bat for Carter during the pre-draft process. Those coaches had grown disenchanted with Carter's practice behavior and attitude. Sources familiar with the inside conversation said Carter didn't always go hard, had an abrasive demeanor at times, and often played by his own set of rules. Well, listen, go figure. This happens with a lot of star athletes in college. The problem is you don't want him to remain that same type of person and player. And I was worried about it when he came in here. When you have a guy that talented, it's only a matter of time before he's getting an extension, and then he's getting a ton of money, and then he becomes the best defensive player on the team. Last year when he came in, Fletcher Cox was there, where he wasn't going to step on Fletcher's shoes. All those guys really respected Fletcher so much. So, like, there was things that he probably wouldn't try to get away with if Fletcher was still there. Fletcher Cox isn't around anymore. I know BG's still there. He's in the final year of his NFL career. I don't know if it hits the same when Brandon talks as opposed to when Fletcher was there. So if he's showing up late for functions, and this is something obviously that he's had a past with, not necessarily being the best player as far as the practice habits and off the field stuff or whatever, I think you got to worry about it. 2.5 sacks in the last 13 games. He doesn't have a solo tackle this year. Repeat that out loud. He doesn't have a solo tackle this year. Now, Tyler, he's getting double teamed a lot. I'm not telling you he's still not going to be a good player. I'm not like I'm trying to keep this separate. But when you start alienating your locker room, where guys may not say anything to your face, but that's even worse. If guys are just talking behind your back and there becomes this group like, he's late again, not practicing again, doing his own thing again. I hate that.
So I will say this. I don't put a ton of stock in the draft process, like immaturity thing, right? These guys are 20, 21 years old. I think back to when I was 20, 21. I was a stupid college kid, right?
Sure.
You know, you think the world's your oyster. You think, and I always talk about, like, it's, you know, up until a certain point, basically every guy in the league or any professional league was the best player on their team, right? Might have stopped at Little League, might have stopped at high school, might have stopped at college. They might still be the best player on their team in the NFL. But at some point, everybody was the best player on their team. So I think there has to be an allowance of a maturation process to occur when you go from the college level to the pro level in any sport. At 21, 22, like, you can mold and shape a guy to break the habits of immaturity. So the draft process stuff didn't bother me as much. I also understand that he is being double teamed a lot. I'm watching a breakdown on him earlier this week, and it was center guard the whole time, and nobody else is getting any kind of pressure. I'm not trying to excuse poor decisions, and, like, if a team decided that you kind of you broke team rules or whatever the case may be, you were late for this event, they're well within their rights to say, you're not starting today's game, here's your punishment. You're not starting, we'll get you in the rotation in a series or a drive or whatever the case may be. I think that you have to learn from these things. And if it becomes a habitual thing where it continues to be where he is lackadaisical or doesn't care about, a meeting or a team thing or whatever, then if it becomes habitual, then it's a problem. If he is continuing to grow as an adult and as a professional, I think we'll be okay.
Sure.
Because the talent's there. Everybody knows the talent's there. And the on-the-field productivity has probably slipped because of, you lose Fletcher Cox, it's a significant loss to your interior.
It's not something. Fletcher Cox had an excellent year last year.
Was very good.
He was very good. We don't talk about that, and they lost that.
Even numerically speaking, like, if you say, oh, Fletcher Cox had X amount of sacks, and in his career he's been double-digit guy before. He was such a commander of double teams, such a good run stuffer. He was really, really good in his final professional season.
Got to the quarterback, played a lot of snaps.
Right.
For a guy in his last year.
I think that Jaylen Carter was able to roam a little bit freer. Now you're going to see what type of player he really is, where he's the guy demanding double teams because he's the best player on the defensive front. The off-the-field concerns are they'll rise with me if these type of things continue to happen.
No, agreed. But, like, let's be realistic. You think this is the first time he's been late for something?
No, probably not.
Right. So this is and it's kind of a slap on the wrist, and it gets out there. Jamie Lynch and I were talking about after we got off the air yesterday, where he's like, yeah, something's obviously up. He didn't start the first half or the second half. So then they have to put it out there to Jeff McClain exactly what happened without going into great detail. So they didn't totally roast the kid, which I'm fine with, right? Can't happen anymore. When you're the best player on the team, you don't have to be the best leader. But you also can't be late. You have to lead by example, right? And in time, you hope that he's able to learn that. And if you're just tuning in and you're hearing that in the background, don't worry. We're just testing the fire alarm during the whole show. So you'll hear that every minute or so. Have you been to the underground bunker here? No. Yeah, why not, right? We should have an underground bunker. If we're going to test the fire alarms like this, we have a we should test the secure underground bunker while we're at it, too. Is there canned goods down there in case anything happens? Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's like the fallout shelter. Everybody needs an underground bunker. If you listen to conservative talk radio, every commercial break, you will hear underground bunker sales. Like, yep, yeah, who doesn't need $5,000 worth of canned goods? Because when everything goes bad, it's going to go bad. You need to have all those things. All right, real fast, Phillies odds to win the World Series. The Dodgers are actually the favorite to win the World Series, plus 310. Yankees plus 500. Phillies plus 500. The next NL teams are the Braves, Brewers, and Padres at plus 1,400. The Mets are plus 3,000. So very clearly there are three favorites to win the World Series right now. Dodgers, Yankees, Phillies. I'm surprised the Dodgers are plus 310. It's the Dodgers, right? It's Shohei Ohtani, it's Mookie Betts, it's Freddie Freeman. Their pitching stinks, though. Right. Their starting pitching's not good enough. I'd be surprised if the Dodgers won the World Series. Well, now there's conversation, and I think it's just fodder. I think it's just like stoking the flames for other teams where they go, oh, Shohei Ohtani hasn't been ruled out to pitch in the postseason. You're not going to throw your $700 million man in year one of his 10-year contract and rush him back
for the postseason.
He's
coming
not
off of
pitching.
Tommy John. He's not pitching.
I heard that somebody came out and said, I don't know if it was Dave Roberts, but somebody came out and said, oh, well, it would be deep in the playoff run if he was to come out and pitch again.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. Put him out there after Tommy John surgery. But who knows? All right, win the National League. Dodgers, Phillies, Padres, Braves. Padres are plus 650. Padres are an interesting team because they have real star power. It's interesting that they're looked at as kind of that third team in the National League. It probably speaks more to the National League than it does to how good the Padres are.
Well, we've talked about the Padres a lot. They're a team who they don't strike out. They put together good at bats. They've got a couple of guys with some pop, but they're a singles doubles team. They are going to fundamental you to death, right? They, Machado and Tatis and Cronenworth has some pop. Jackson Merrill's been awesome, but Luis Arraez just struck out for the first time in like 300 plate appearances. Like they don't strike out a lot. They've got a bunch of guys who have put together really good at bats this year. And then when you get to the top of the rotation, like you face Dylan Cease in game 1, you could find yourself down 1-0, and then all of a sudden the entire construct of the series changes.
No, you're right. If it's a 7-game series, you feel like you can outlast them, but you get them in that 5-game series.
I mean, do you remember the year they played the Padres in the NLCS with Yu Darvish was pitching? He pitched game 1 or game 2?
I don't think it was 1.
Whichever game he pitched, he was stellar until the Kyle Schwarber 700-foot home run. But you had an opportunity. They had an opportunity to. I think it must have been 1 because then they won game 2, right?
Okay.
So he pitched really, really well, and it was a duel for the entirety of that game. And the Phillies just finally, cracked the code. But if you have a guy like a Zack Wheeler, like a Dylan Cease, that, can grab you game 1. That's why, the Mets pitching staff has been really good. Quintana, Sean Manaea, they've been really good this year. But I don't fear those guys the way that I would fear a Wheeler. I would fear a Cease. Even Garrett Cole, who's not been himself because I think still was coming back from the injury.
He's still got it in him,
He's
though.
still Garrett Cole, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, so if you have a guy who can grab game 1, that's so paramount to winning a series.
All right, coming up on tomorrow's show, it's going to be a Fanatic reunion of sorts. Yes, there will be 3 people in studio that are alumni of 97.5 The Fanatic. Jon Marks, Tyler Zulli, and my old battery mate, Sean Brace from the John and Sean show. I worked with Sean for many years, first on the weekends, and then we did middays. Sean will join us in studio for tomorrow's show, which will be a lot of fun. So all the Jon and Sean show fans, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Tune into the program.
I think I was a brand new intern when you guys were on the air.
Were you?
Not for you guys. I think I did the afternoons, but I'm pretty sure I was the year that when you got, because you guys were what, 10 to 12 and then 10 to 2 or something along those lines?
We were never 10 to 2. I think we were, I'm pretty sure we were just 12 to 2.
12 to 2, okay.
Tony Bruno alternated a couple. He was like 10 to 2, and he was like 10 to 12, and then he was 12 to 2, and they went back to 10.
Yeah, I think I had just kind of cracked in as an intern when you guys were there.
Look at you.
And I was a baby.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
It was 20, I think.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's 10 years ago. Sean and I stopped working together 10 years ago. So Sean joins us tomorrow. Again, everybody that's out there listening, thank you. We've been getting good reviews. So if you want to listen to the audio portion of this show on the podcast, wherever you find your podcasts, you can do it. I do Apple Podcasts for the most part because it's easy. But wherever you find your podcast, just search Philly with Jon Marks. Leave good reviews and only good reviews because we'll find you if you don't. Also, comment, like, subscribe on YouTube. It helps Philly sports fans find us, and we get new viewers that way. The algorithm, then you're not going to be able to get enough of us once you start liking and commenting and subscribing. So thank you to everybody on YouTube. It's been awesome. So make sure you continue to watch on that. And tomorrow we're going to be back. And it'll be awesome. At Jon Marks Media, JONMARKS Media, at Jon Marks Media. That's Twitter, Instagram. Follow me. And also email me. Say hello. DMs are open. At Jon Marks Media. Across all platforms. All right? We'll talk tomorrow. Sean Brace joins us in the studio. Anthony is coming up next right here on PHLY. See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.